Welcome to Stormy Willow, where we explore the paranormal, celebrate the odd, and never trust the living. I'm your host, Sarah.
And I'm your host, Adele.
And we're back, 2026.
Yeah.
It is so good to be back. We've taken a little hiatus, and we're back with something new, where we're going to be bringing you the paranormal of each state. So we're kicking it off today with Alabama.
So, 50 States of Strange is our new season. So, if you live in the regions where we discuss, let us know if we got it right.
Yeah, and definitely, if you do live in one of the states, tell us. And there's so much haunted history. So if we missed something or something that you think deserves a shout out, definitely tell us. As we're always looking for haunted, fun lore. So feel free to chat with us about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, are we ready to hear about Alabama?
Let's crack into it. I need to know all about Alabama.
Listen here. And we're recording today on Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day. And I thought, what an awesome time to maybe go learn about Selma, Alabama, which is hella haunted. So let's just kind of get into it. So let's talk about Selma. So it's nestled on the banks of the Alabama River. Now, Selma is actually a quiet town now, but its soil is soaked with some of the most haunting chapters in American history, as you all know. Chapters that were written in violence, broken bodies, and desperate struggle for human dignity. Now, one of the main things that happened in Selma specifically is some Civil War carnage. So we all know about some Civil War haunts, especially in this area. So long before the Civil Rights Movement came to Selma, the Civil War was actually one of the largest battles fought there in April 1865. And it was actually one of the last major clashes of the Civil War, and it was called the Battle of Selma. And this battle tore this town apart. So we had Union cavalry that smashed through Confederate defenses in brutal combat. We had hand-to-hand fighting across the landscape. And then if that wasn't enough, much of the city was burned or destroyed in the aftermath. So we had a lot of wounded and dying soldiers that littered the ground, and just a very bloody event there in Selma. And so Selma is also known, what I think the thing that unfortunately puts it on the map is the civil rights movement there. So after the war, Selma became a part of the Jim Crow South. And so it was a place where racial violence was just the routine. In the broader region, there were lynchings and mob terror that were used to terrorize Black residents and suppress justice. And historians have actually documented horrifying acts of racial violence against Black men, women, and children throughout this entire area. So it just leaves a legacy of fear and trauma that still ripple today. And then we had Bloody Sunday, which is a bridge that bled. But the moment that mostly stained Selma's name was in March 7th, 1965, which is the day the peaceful fight for voting rights turned into a nightmare of brutality known as Bloody Sunday. And when I think of Selma, I always think about this, unfortunately, where you had hundreds of civil rights marchers that stepped onto the Edmund Pettus Bridge in hopes of walking from Selma to the state capital of Montgomery, and they were not welcomed well. They were beat with batons, tear gas. It was just an absolute horrific scene. And so I think that when you think about Selma, that bridge holds such a horrifying image for most of us. You know what I'm talking about, Adele?
Yeah, I always associate Selma with a lot of racial violence.
Yes, exactly. And so, unfortunately, that is one of the things that, it is famous for, and we're going to get into that a little more. But I also didn't know with Selma that they also had in January 2023 a powerful tornado that actually tore through the city, that ripped homes apart, it tore down trees, and it just plunged thousands into darkness. So the storm really left evidence that Selma scars aren't only historical but are ongoing. I had forgotten about the tornado that came through. So before we get into the haunts, there's a lot of stuff stirring in Selma. A lot of trauma happening. We've got Civil War, civil rights, and then tornadoes. So we've got a lot to work with here. uh, so let's get into it. So let's get into the haunting of the Edmund Pettus Bridge. And so before we dive into this, I really think it's important to note and to be responsible that the Pettus Bridge, it's not a fun haunted place that we talk about, like, oh, let's go to this haunted hotel or this haunted house. I want to be really respectful in the fact that this particular haunting is inseparable because it really deals with very real, very recent human suffering. So most accounts frame what happens there as that's not a playful spirit, but it's just an absolute like residual trauma. So the memory is so intense on this bridge that people interrupt it as paranormal. That said, people report that the bridge has become honestly one of the most unsettling locations in all of Alabama.
Hmm.
So places, they said one of the common scenarios is that it's a place that just feels wrong. So tons of visitors obviously go here, and so one of the things that most people say. They say that and it just they feel just a sudden tightness in the chest. They feel very dizzy. They feel nauseous. They feel a sense of panic with no clear cause, and an overwhelming urge to leave the bridge immediately. So even people that may be unfamiliar with its history report this. Only later, when they learn why, they can connect, like, oh wow, that bridge still feels so heavy. Many describe the sensation as if they're being watched from behind, which is very creepy and unsettling to me. And like even if the bridge is empty,
And
they
very
feel
specific.
very
I'm
specific.
being watched from behind.
Yeah, and I thought this was kind of cool. So if you have been following the 2025 month Peace Walk, they walked over this bridge, and I thought that was really something to see. I wonder if they felt any of that.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's very symbolic either way.
Absolutely. And so some of the most common things people report involves footsteps. So they say visitors walking alone definitely hear footsteps that are matching their pace. Oh, and then when they stop, the footsteps continue,
Ew.
which is rather creepy. And some report hearing multiple sets of footsteps behind them. I don't like any of this at all. And
And it's
so,
heavy footsteps to hear on a bridge.
right?
Like I don't know. I don't really walk across a lot of bridges or just hang out on
Yeah.
them. But
And I guess this
geez.
one people probably do because of the historic significance. So it's probably more of a commonly walked bridge than most.
Or it's like creepers living under the bridge.
Yeah. Or who knows? Who
A
knows?
ghost than any
Yes.
person.
Yes. And so residents say that late at night or early mornings, they claim to hear what sounds like a crowd moving together. So like they say like shoes on concrete, faint echoes, but no voices. So just a sound like if you've ever like ran a race, like that sound with multiple feet
Just
together running the same
yeah.
race. Late at night, they say that it sounds like it was just so weird. They describe it like it's almost like the sound like changes into boots. So it's like heavier, like more aggressive, and often accompanied by a spike of fear. So it's like you hear like shoes, like people like kind of moving together, and then it changes into like this heavy, like boot, like aggressive boot kind of sound. I'm just like, oh,
Wow.
Yeah, their hauntings are very specific, and I really
Yeah.
appreciate that. And Adele, this is your favorite. I know how much you love a disembodied voice and cry, but we've got that there too happening
Of
on the
course.
bridge. So now these accounts are rare, but still chilling. Um, some people say, none, this isn't something like the footsteps are the biggest thing, but some accounts, not quite as many, say that they can hear whispers that cannot be understood. They also have reported a woman crying softly, then abruptly stopping, and then someone saying, "Go back or get off the bridge."
Oh, go back or get off.
Yeah, very specific. And so one visitor reported hearing a sharp command described as like an authoritative, kind of angry sound that caused them to turn around instantly. And they said it just made them feel like there were police behind them or something just not good. And they looked back and no one was there.
Hmm.
Do you not like
Well, yeah,
it?
I guess it gets into like, is it being territorial or is it maybe warning you that the breach isn't safe?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So these experiences tend to happen like near the apex of the bridge. So that's like the exact point where marchers first saw the line of troopers in 1965. And so I think it's really crazy how people can pinpoint exactly where this stuff starts to happen, and then they like actually connect it
Hmm. So it
where
seems like
the
a residual haunting.
yes, 100%. And we're going to get into that. And so they also report, like, this is a multiple report again of cold spots and sudden stillness. And so they notice that there are sudden drops in temperature, even on warm days. Now, I mean, it gets warm in Alabama. So, when you
Yeah.
feel a sudden drop, you're going to feel that. And I think this is crazy too. Um, People report wind stopping like abruptly,
Hmm.
which I'm like, that's nuts. And
Yeah.
then there's a heavy silence as if the sound itself has been completely muted. So, of course, this place has been investigated by paranormal investigators, and they often say they classify this as residual energy, as you were saying earlier, Adele. Not necessarily an intelligent haunting, but a moment in time that keeps replaying itself emotionally rather than visually. And I would agree with that for sure. And so the residual trauma theory, which most investigators do not claim the bridge is haunted by, like, one identifiable spirit in the traditional sense. They just believe that there's this trauma imprint of fear and pain and chaos and desperation, and that's what people are feeling whenever they walk on this bridge. So, as we had mentioned at the start, on Bloody Sunday, marchers were beaten, trampled, and gassed, and then left bleeding on the pavement. Horses charged at them, batons cracked skulls, screams echoed off the steel arches. So, this theory suggests that intense emotional events really can embed themselves into a location, which replays sensations rather than forming like full apparitions. Like we sometimes, we see an apparition like, a haunted mansion, that the infamous woman in white. This is not that. This is a different. I would say a much more sinister, scary kind of haunt, if you ask me. Um,
Yeah, I mean, who knows with collective consciousness? I know that it's kind of like a popular thing people are talking about now, and in times of extreme stress and multiple people kind of having those extreme emotions. I mean, who knows how it can actually affect the environment?
exactly, and I just feel like, and paranormal investigators say the reason that they say that this is definitely a residual trauma is because of what so many people have experienced. They experience the panic versus seeing an apparition. They hear things that are vague and distorted. They experience peak at specific physical locations on that bridge where things like really went down, instead of seeing, like, here's a Civil War ghost or whatever. So it's a little different. But just to kind of talk about about the paranormal investigation attempts, there have been a small number of teams that have quietly investigated the bridge, usually at night, and they try really hard not to do it publicly. This haunting is, it's like you want to be respectful, and so I think that they try really hard to like not, make it into like a Ghost Adventures type show, like they're trying to respect what really happened here. And so they do say that that they have had EMF spikes near that center point of the bridge. They have had audio recordings and unexplained rhythmic sounds. And of course, they've had equipment that has malfunctioned while they're on the bridge. So, notably, the investigators often report the emotional distress, especially during their sessions that they've had, that, other people have mentioned as well. They feel overwhelming sadness, anger, and the urge to stop the investigation entirely. Several teams have refused to even return, stating that the location felt so oppressive or emotionally dangerous. I thought that was interesting. Why people say the bridge is still active. So, unlike other hauntings, like tied to century-old deaths and just bloody situations, Bloody Sunday occurred within living memory. I mean, a lot of these survivors are still alive, and so the trauma hasn't really faded into legend yet. Like when we talk about like war ghosts, or like for the Civil War and that sort of thing, it's a little farther removed. This really isn't that far removed, and so locals say the bridge doesn't really want to scare you. They feel like it wants you to remember. And some believe the haunting intensifies during anniversaries, during foggy mornings, or at sunrise and sunsets. These are the same times that the marchers would have gathered, waited, and crossed the bridge, which is why they think that those are the peak times to go. Check it out.
I'm assuming some of the people who might have actually marched over the bridge are still alive. I wonder
Yes.
if he's ever returned or
Yeah.
different reactions or almost like recognized or something.
That would be interesting. Like it would be really interesting to see. And I can't imagine what it must have been like to be there. And like and if you're a survivor, like would you want to return? Like I don't know. It seems absolutely horrifying. But I would, if somebody would want to go, like it would be interesting to do an EMF session with someone that had been there before and someone that never has. You know what I mean? I was there like during Bloody Sunday to see if the readings are different.
Yeah, or maybe like it could even help cleanse it. Like, hey, we have rights now for now.
Well, I was kind of thinking about the monks and like, when they do their walk, like they are like giving blessings. I just wonder, like, maybe they were able to bless some of that
Bless that
hate.
mess.
Bless that mess. Or, pour, or maybe it was, something good coming through that.
Yeah. Or I don't know, maybe it's kind of like here we still are.
Or here we are again. Like, did it even intensify? Like, it's hard to say because it's just. I felt like this was it was so interesting because we're covering Alabama and we just started our podcast and it's MLK Jr. Day, and like all the stuff that's happening in America. It was kind of interesting how everything fell for us to record this today, but I don't know. I feel like. I can't imagine, like, I feel like the terror that you might feel there would be just so sad and so heavy. Which is different, like, than our hauntings that we do that are fun, that are like, oh, there's the ghost.
Yeah.
It's a completely different kind of place. And I don't know, like, would you want to go there? Like, would you want to walk on that bridge, Adele?
Well, I'm always curious to check out any of the paranormal activity that's been reported and see what I think about it for myself. I would be most curious about people who are completely unaware of the history and their experiences, because I do feel like I would be very much primed. Because it's such an emotional event, how can you not be somewhat, biased or have that in your unconscious somewhere?
Right, exactly. And I think especially with everything that's still happening in America, like it seems like I don't know, like it's definitely unsettling. It's like here we go again, you know.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, but I would love to go. Like I would like to go, like bring flowers or something, or I would like to actually do an EMF. Um,
Yeah, I'd like to
recording.
check it out to see what I think is going on there. I mean, who knows? I mean, I know it's over a body of water. Not to be like the lamb, not to throw like a wet blanket on it, but it is over a body of water, which I know can affect sound in weird ways. I would like to really objectively see what's going on with the reported sounds and activity, and try not to bring that emotional charge to it. But I mean, I don't
Yeah,
know.
it would be hard not to. It would be so
Yeah.
hard not to.
That's kind of the thing about these places, or like Auschwitz and places like that. Like, how can you not be emotionally charged about it when
Right.
investigating paranormal?
Yes. Well, are we ready to go to location number 2?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, so we're going to leave the bridge and we're going to head to a place called Sturtevant Hall, which is named Selma's most famous haunting. So, if the bridge wasn't enough, this is the most famous haunting. So I'm like, all right. So this is a good one. So Sturtevant Hall was built in 1856 by Colonel Edward Watts, just 5 years before the Civil War. Okay, so this house, of course, survived the Battle of Selma in 1865. It was occupied by Union troops, passed through multiple owners during the Reconstruction period, and became tied to financial ruin, imprisonment, and death. So we're starting on some bad bones, first of all.
Yikes.
Um, so the most infamous figure associated with this house is John McGee Parkman. Now, John was a wealthy banker who married into the Watts family and later lived in this mansion. And Parkman's life unraveled after the Civil War. So his financial dealings collapsed. He was accused of fraud. He was imprisoned, and he allegedly swore he would never leave Sturtevant Hall. He's like, "This is my home. I'm going to die here." Well, he did. He died shortly after escaping custody under murky circumstances. Whether by illness or exhaustion or despair is unclear. But the story ends unfinished, which is exactly the kind of narrative Ghost 4 feeds on. It is still here at this home. So the primary spirit, of course, is John Parkman. And visitors and staff have repeatedly reported that this is a male figure, 19th century clothing. He's seen briefly at the top of the stairs or in the second floor rooms. And then, of course, he vanishes when you try to approach him. He's often described as watching, but he doesn't interact. He just watches. And there have been no reports that he's violent. They say, though the presence does come off as maybe stern or anxious or territorial, there have not been any reports of him being a violent apparition. All right, so let's talk about it. So reported for decades, okay? So not just recently. This has been going on for decades. People have witnessed doors opening and closing on their own, chairs shifting position overnight, objects placed on tables later found on the floor, locked doors found unlocked the next morning. Now, one longtime caretaker claimed the house seemed to reset itself overnight, undoing changes made during the day.
That would be really annoying, actually.
I'm like, I don't want that plant there. Stop moving it.
Like, why are you cleaning? Like, I did.
Like, why does this house look like crap? I scrubbed it.
I mean, yeah, that would get on my nerves pretty
That would
fast.
make me feel crazy, like absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Now, this would probably freak you out. So there have also been reports that involves 2 children. Okay, so passerbys have reported seeing children looking out upstairs windows. So when staff investigated, guess what? There aren't any children there. So There have been no confirmed deaths of children that are recorded in the home, which kind of makes the sightings more disturbing. Um, and this has led to some speculation about unrecorded lives possibly connected to enslaved families whose histories were never documented.
Or like, what if it's real living children that somebody's just keeping captive there now?
Oh no! Kind of like, oh my gosh, what is that? Oh, that book, Flowers in the Attic.
Oh yeah, like
Oh,
seriously, we tell you not to trust the living for a reason.
yeah, it's like, yeah, there aren't any ghosts because they're still there. And of course, we have the typical physical sensations and environmental changes that we love. We see a lot at haunted places. So we've got visitors reporting the sudden cold spots, especially around the staircase or the specific rooms that the sightings have happened in. We have feelings of pressure or heaviness on the chest. We have headaches, nausea that disappear as soon as you leave, and a sensation of being unwelcome in certain rooms. These sensations are reported most often near the staircase, the upstairs hallway, and rooms that were associated with Parkman's occupancy. Now, of course, we've had some paranormal investigations happened here, and here are some of the reported findings. So, for audio, they definitely captured unexplained footsteps. They captured low frequency sounds resembling breathing, which always freaks me out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie.
Resembling
And
breathing or grieving?
yeah, resembling breathing. So kind of like the yeah.
It's like it's just what it's supposed to mean. Like you're breathing your nasty breath in my face, like.
Stop. And then EVPs have interrupted as short words or sighs. So apparently this person is like really annoyed and is a very either a heavy breather or just very like like get out of here kind of.
I'm just tired of you guys and your stupid questions.
Yeah, I'm not sure which.
So it's a
So
sassy ghost. Okay.
maybe he just has a hard time breathing. I don't know. Maybe he has asthma. I'm not sure. Now, we do have equipment failing, and like we have some EMF spikes near the staircase. We have the typical battery drain. We have the motion sensors triggering in empty rooms, the typical stuff we're used to seeing. And investigators consistently note that activity increases when the house is quiet, especially after closing hours. Now, we have some theories behind this haunting. One, we love a good just residual haunting. Many believe that this place exhibits residual energy, not as an intelligent ghost, because of the repeated footsteps, repetitive motion, and no clear interaction. So this kind of fits the idea of Parkman maybe pacing endlessly, replaying his anxiety. Because remember, like he lost his wealth, he lost so much. So maybe it's just that anxiety that he felt in the home, and that's what we're feeling or picking up on. Another suggestion is maybe emotional imprinting. So some people say that, with the financial ruin, the fear of arrest, a loss of status. I mean, my gosh, the Civil War happened. Union soldiers were in his home. It could explain why people may feel that emotional distress that they say they, feel. And maybe it's not really fear of his apparition, but it's just you're kind of feeling kind of like with a bridge, you're just kind of feeling really heavy emotion that occurred there in the home. I don't know. And this one is quite sinister. The possibility, we had talked about the children in the window possibly being slaves or people that were not documented. And so they're saying like maybe the children's sightings and the unexplained presence may point to enslaved individuals whose lives and deaths were never documented, which could be a common source of haunting, which we see a lot, unfortunately, in Southern War. Just the whole trauma of like, you lived a life and you were never even documented,
Yeah.
That very much can be what people feel too. So why this place endures as a haunted site is because the reports span for decades. Like this is not something like, oh, this is a new ghost, a new apparition. These are stories that people have told. They've been documented for a long, long time. And the stories keep coming from staff So people that are there all the time reporting the same things. Skeptics even are like, oh God, there's something here. Tourists and investigators have all experienced very similar things. And it's just kind of makes it more like they actually have experiences. So it makes it more like of a real thing rather than like a lore. The house doesn't really perform for you. It just kind of observes or lets you observe, which makes it really kind of eerie.
Yeah, or maybe you're the ghost.
Or maybe you're the
It's doing
ghost.
its thing.
Yeah, it's like maybe it's you. I don't know, but I would love to go there. It's beautiful. I mean, it's just this beautiful home. I would absolutely love to go. I mean, I would stay 100%. I would definitely. What about you?
Of course I would.
Yeah,
Totally stay.
I would too. And Adele, I have a bonus for you because I know how much you love cemeteries.
I do love cemeteries.
And so I have the Live Oak Cemetery, which is Selma's final haunting. So this history is like beneath the ground, one would say. Live Oak Cemetery dates back to the early 1800s, making it one of Selma's oldest burial grounds. And it expanded rapidly during the antebellum period, the Civil War, and the Reconstruction and Jim Crow. Which is, I'm just going to leave that there. But those who are buried here include Confederate soldiers from the Battle of Selma, prominent white families with elaborate headstones, enslaved people often buried without markers, and poor residents whose graves were never even recorded.
Sounds about right.
We have victims of racial violence whose burials were quiet, rushed, and undocumented. And so we got a lot going on beneath that soil. That's just not good. Large sections of the cemetery are believed to contain unmarked or lost graves, especially beneath the oldest oak trees, where roots and time have erased physical evidence that there are even bodies there. The emblems, the ornate monuments beside empty ground, is part of what makes this place completely unsettling. Now, we have a famous ghost that that frequents here. So, if all of this isn't too much to take, we also have the Phantom Wagon and Charlie, which is the most persistent legend and well-known haunting, probably in this whole place. So,
It's the whole wagon?
it's the wagon.
Wow. Okay.
Okay, so the most well-known haunting is basically centered around this wagon that moves through the cemetery at night. So here we go. I've never heard of a haunting wagon, but I'm here for it. So witnesses report wooden wheels rolling slowly over dirt, hooves walking at a steady pace, chains or metal softly clinking, and the sound following behind them, never ahead. Ah!
Getting followed by a wagon.
So when they stop walking, though, the sound continues. And when they turn around, nothing is there.
That would be my choice to investigate. I would have to experience.
I knew that I did this one just for you because there are so many haunted places in all of Alabama, but especially Selma. I tried to narrow it down to 3, and I put this one in here just for you. I'm like, this is an Adele haunt, if ever there was one.
Yeah, a wagon is not common. That's pretty.
Yes. Well, local lore identifies this wagon legend as Charlie, who was an enslaved man forced to haul goods and possibly bodies through the cemetery.
I say he was like the gravekeeper.
Yeah, I guess. So get this. In death, he is said to continue the labor. He was never allowed to stop.
Ooh.
So usually there's not an apparition that's seen, but the sounds are like, people have heard them. There's been quite a lot of folks that are like, yes, like 100%. I've heard this. Now, visitors have described tall human-shaped shadows standing between graves, figures that disappear when directly looked at, shapes that seem darker than the surrounding night, and They so figures that are most seen also are like around like the unmarked sections of the grave. Um, so that's where they see most of this stuff, and then also along tree lines and at dusk and just before sunrise. Like that's where most of all of this activity happens in the cemetery. And witnesses often say that they really didn't feel like afraid. They just felt like somebody was like observing them. Now, this is crazy, but some people report seeing a pale mist just kind of hugging the ground.
Okay.
I'm like, all right. Shapes forming briefly, then dissolving, and fog that moves against the wind. Now, paranormal investigators often interpret this as a residual energy, not an intelligent entity, and that the environment is just replaying something rather than interacting with it. I
What
don't
is like
know.
ectoplasm?
Maybe, I don't know. I mean, emotional and physical experiences. Now, we talked about people feeling watched at our other locations, but Live Oak is described as emotionally heavy place. Common reactions include sudden sadness or grief with no clear cause, that pressure in the chest or throat, which, oh, I don't like that. Headaches that begin inside the cemetery and stop after leaving, and the feeling that you should not linger, that you need to get the hell out of there. Except for Adele. I'm like, Adele, let's go.
Let's go take our sleeping bags and camp out.
They'll be like, no, like let's get out some snacks, stay a while.
Have stories.
That's what typical visitors report, not us. Now, several people say that they just feel like they need to look back repeatedly, like they just feel like somebody's watching them, and they feel the strong urge not to speak while walking through certain areas. Which I thought was interesting. I haven't really seen that one before.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
And several people say that experience intense dreams after they visit. So they say that they just feel like they're carrying something heavy and that they're not able to rest, and like they feel like they're trying to like call out and like no one can hear them. Which I'm like, oh, don't like that. And of course, paranormal investigators have been to Live Oak Cemetery, and they've done local ghost walks, which I think would be so awesome to do there. Amateur paranormal investigations and informal overnight vigils. Now, reported findings. Are you ready? They include footsteps on gravel with no visible source. Here we are with the breathing again. So we've got the breathing and the sighing. We've captured that on audio. And then sounds resembling dragging or rolling.
Dragging?
That could be Charlie.
This is a very auditory city. It seems like I would like to explore with someone deaf and see if they have to change it a little bit to get their attention.
That would be interesting. That would be interesting because we also have EMF fluctuations near old burial areas. Of course, they've got that sudden battery drain, and then motion sensors are activate with no movement visible. So investigators frequently note that nothing reacts to us; it just continues. So the lack of interaction makes the site more disturbing to many of the teams because they're like, it's just we're not trying to like make it like interact with us. It's just there. It continues whether we're there or we pack up and leave.
Yeah.
So it's like they're not putting on like a show, Now, here are some theories behind the haunting. Now, number one, residual trauma, which I think is going to be the case for you could say for almost every haunting. So most experiences obviously align with the residual haunting. We've got the repetitive sounds. We have non-interactive apparitions. We have no direct communication until we go and Adele's going to talk to Charlie. I just know it. It's going to happen. This suggests that repeated actions are just imprinted on the land, like a lot of walking, hauling, burying, just the act of burying someone. Now, the unacknowledged dead. Now, the cemetery contains, like we said earlier, just like countless unrecorded lives. We have enslaved individuals, poor residents, and victims of racial terror. So, in folklore, spirits linger not because they're angry, but because they were just never acknowledged, you know? And that just fucking sucks. Like, God.
Everybody just wants attention.
And so I think the land remembers. That's the third thing. Unlike buildings, cemeteries don't really trap memories, they absorb it. And so I feel like the live oak is not haunted by one ghost, it's haunted by an accumulation, which is probably why it's such a scary place. And so, why Live Oak Cemetery endures, what makes live oak especially unsettling is the silence. So you're not getting jump scares here. You're not getting like ghost faces or just one single story. You're just getting repetition, presence, the feeling that something unfinished continues, whether you're there or you're not. It's just that feeling that it continues to have. It doesn't really want attention. It doesn't want fear. It simply just exists and lets you feel how many people never really got to leave or never even freaking got acknowledged. So yeah, I definitely feel like this is a place that you should put on your bucket list, Adele. It sounds really insanely haunted.
Yeah.
And I've never heard of a wagon, so I'm like, this would be a first.
Yeah, that's a unique one.
I really need Charlie.
I would be curious, definitely, to investigate this place.
Yeah, I knew you would.
I just find cemeteries very peaceful and very historic as well. Like, it's just interesting, if nothing else, just to look at the different architecture and you know, record of people.
Absolutely. Well, just in closing, as we close our first episode of the new year, since we are recording again on this episode on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is a day I think that is meant for reflection and a day kind of meant to remember unfinished work. In Selma, the past doesn't really feel distant. Its presence is close, as we saw in our hauntings that are still happening. On the Edmund Pettus Bridge, people still feel panic rise in their chest for no clear reason. In Sturtevant Hall, footsteps still pace rooms that should be empty. And then in Live Oak Cemetery, something keeps walking or hauling long after the work should have ended. Some people call these things ghosts, but maybe what we're feeling isn't the dead refusing to rest. Maybe it's the living refusing to finish what was started. Selma reminds us that history doesn't disappear when it's buried. It stays in the ground, in the walls, and in the air. And until the wounds that created these stories are honestly faced, the hauntings won't stop. They'll just get quieter and quieter, and things are easy to ignore. And so I think it's so important that we not ignore these things because they're still happening today. And that, my friends, is Selma, Alabama.
Wow. Hella haunted.
Hella haunted. And that's just one place in Alabama. So
Yeah, that was a good one.
yes. Would definitely like to go add that to our list of places to visit.
For sure.
Yes. Well, thank you all for joining us. We're so glad to be back with you for new stories, new adventures. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow and leave a review. It helps other listeners like you find us. And until next time, stay safe out there.
Stay curious.
And never
trust
the living. They're no good. Don't do it.
No.